This video is going to show you a solo flawless VOX OBSCURA. This is week 2 of the exotic rotator playlist. For those just want to see the solo flawless, and skip the timestamps. Other than that, I can go over the build and stuff like that. So every week for the rotate playlist, I'll always start with a solo flawless standard, then a solo flawless legend, because I get a lot of comments on the normal difficulty saying I want solo flawless legend. How I do content on this playlist is I always start with normal solo flawless, then legend. I'll do that every week. Well, for the first 3 weeks, I'll do that also for next week, and then the weeks after that, it'll be just legend probably, unless people still want the normal difficulty. But yeah, we're touching normal first, then the legend difficulty after that. So we're using a very unique build. Weapon loadout is Briarbinds, because I thought there was Barry champions in this, but there isn't. That's only in legend difficulty, so I didn't need this on. However, it worked out pretty well, this Briarbinds. I actually quite enjoyed it. Telesto is the main exotic that we're using that's going to synergize with our Briarbinds build, the new exotic Gauntlets from this season, which improves Void Souls, basically. But there's more to that, and I'll explain all the sort of ins and outs that I've learned so far with the Gauntlets in the run. Retrofit as well is a void weapon because we're doing a volatile rounds build, so we want as many void weapons on as possible, and the LMG just works, so that's why I used it. I'm using Nova Warp. You can use any any super you want. I'm just using Nova Warp to show you something in the video, but for most of you can just use Nova Bomb if you want, if you don't like Nova Warp. But I'm just saying I'm just using it to show something in the video. I'm using Healing Rift, Vortex Grenade, Aspects, Feed the Void, and Child of the Old Gods. You must have Child of the Old Gods on for the Gauntlets to work. You use that. Now, just to focus on one of the paragraphs, the second paragraph, it says, when a target is being drained, you are granted Grenade and melee energy if running Healing Rift. If it's an Empowering Rift, you gain health instead, but that also means you get health and weapon damage. So if you want to use Empowering Rift, you can, is because you're going to debuff with Child of the Old Gods and buff at the same time with Empowering Rift. I didn't because I wanted to see how many grenades I would get during this run. Because I want more grenades. Why? Because I've got a fragment on that allows me to get volatile rounds when I defeat enemies with grenades. So you can understand why I wanted to use Healing Rift instead because of this. Which Echo of Instability works well with Echo of Cessation because the second sentence states defeating volatile targets creates a void breach, so therefore I'm picking up void breaches and all this sort of stuff. So it's really good. I've got Echo of Remnants on just to buff my grenade up a little bit, and Echo of Explosion to get more explosions. So I really like this setup at the minute. In terms of mods, just quickly briefly cover it. Void Siphon, Dynamo, Kinetic Loader, Balls from Detonation. You can double up on Balls from Detonation if you want, but I didn't feel as though I had to. I was getting plenty of ability energy as it was. The resistance doesn't matter in this. I'm just using triple elemental resistance. Double Bomber, so when we cast our Rift, we'll get more grenade energy, which will then damage enemies with a grenade to then get more healing energy, healing rift energy. So there's a cycle here, and these mods that I'm showing you help you to contain this grenade healing rift cycle. And utility kickstart with the cherry on the top, so that I get extra ability energy. Even if I'm got an armor charge, utility kickstart still works. So that's overall the build I was using. So with the VOX OBSCURA mission, the first thing that you want to do is head down to the valley area to kill the Unstoppable Champion. If you don't do this, when you get to the next phase where the tank spawns up, this Unstoppable will still be alive and will mess with you. So just make sure that you kill this Unstoppable first. Obviously it's Unstoppable Fusion, and I've got Telesto on it. You just saw me melt the champ there, which I believe this season Telesto is going to be actually a great weapon in GM Nightfalls because we have Unstoppable Fusion and because of how good Telesto is in endgame content and stuff. But yeah, kill the Unstoppable first, then go to where you need to. Notice there's no timer. The timer will not start until you get access to a vehicle. This is the first major change that they made with the mission. Originally, the timer was 4 minutes and 30 seconds to destroy all the towers with the tank. Well, to get to that section, right? Now you get 8 minutes right? That is crazy. The time difference, we're doubled almost from what it used to be. This section, the vehicle section, used to be quite difficult for people to clear, especially on the old Master variant. Because what people didn't realize at the time is that vehicle damage resistance is tied to power level. So if you were going into Master Vox under leveled, because you weren't restricted power then, you weren't restricted. This was before Lightfall. That meant your vehicle was tankier and you could deal with the whole situation. That doesn't matter anymore because chances are you have overleveled the 1800 power level requirement for normal. And if you're doing it on Legend, you're power capped anyways. What is it, 1500 minus 15? So it doesn't matter. It's going to be a level playing field for the vehicle damage resistance that we used to get if you were over leveling the content. You can't do that as such now, for Legend at the very least. But for this, you can kind of. But I don't know how that works with the vehicle resistance. But it doesn't really matter to know how it works because normal's easy. You're gonna feel like it's really easy. And if you lose your tank at any point, you can always get another. The only thing about that is though, you need to destroy the 3 towers whilst you have this tank, but you need to have the 2 enemy tanks killed. So focus on the legs. Try and hit the legs if you can. But honestly, these tanks go down really quick. And it's literally just strafe and left and right, while hitting the tank. It's really easy to do this. If you hit a leg, you do more damage. Then after that, you get the towers. So you've got to hit the initial explosion areas that it's telling you to hit. Then you've got a barrier, and then you shoot down the barrier, and then there's the drill inside. This mechanic is from Red War, basically. If you don't remember the Red War final mission, we done this, but it was with a tank. I think we did have a tank, and you shot down the barrier, then you shot down the drill, and it stopped. That's literally what you're doing here. The only difference is you're micromanaging the enemies and the freshers, which on Legend this is going to be far more of a problem than what it is on normal. So your movement's going to have to be better, but I will say that once you've got the 2 tanks down, I think it is, you can respawn a tank anyways, I believe. So you can respawn this tank, not the Interceptors, the tank I'm in now, whatever the hell the name of it is, because you need this one, right? But if the tank you're in now explodes while you're dealing with the 2 double enemy tanks, then you can't respawn this one. From what I remember how the mission worked. Literally one shot there at that point, but we need to use the tank for the exit, right? Obviously you do that. I'm just rushing this a little bit because, as I say, it is only on normal. There is going to be some turrets as we're going. There's a load of mages, and you used to have to kill those mages for pinnacle drops. That was the catch. You had to kill like 50 ultras and champs to get a pinnacle drop. Obviously that's no longer an actual thing anymore. So now you get the timer, right? So this is the second change they made. This used to be 10 minutes. So it used to be 10 minutes for you to kill the boss and clear all the enemies before the boss and get all the scannables. The old rotation was really tight on time. You had to really be on point. We now have an extra 5 minutes. It's the same situation as Prestige. We now have an extra 5 minutes to deal with everything. The timing on Vox is really, really easy now. And it's not going to change on Legend neither. Because if I use this exact build on Legend, I will be just as effective. I'll have to play a little bit more responsive, because in this run I'm not playing as responsive, but I don't need to be that responsive. It is literally only normal, but it's showing people how to quickly get the red border right away, rather than you leading you down a path to do Legend first, when you could have just done normal, right, initially, and then maybe look at moving to Legend. Telesto's doing mad damage. It's doing. I haven't used Telesto in a while, so I was like shocked at how much damage it was doing. But I have got, as I say, access to surges. I have got the debuffs constantly. So with the Void Soul, you can keep picking it up, right? So how it works is you start shooting at an enemy when you've got a Void Soul. When you've popped your Rift, the Void Soul will aggressively track those enemies and debuff them and weaken them and all that stuff. But once that Void Soul's done, you can go and pick it up and then link it to the next set of enemies. Now I don't know if there's a cooldown on one of the Void Souls. Like I don't know how many times you could pick up the same Void Soul. Is it infinite? I don't know because I haven't got time to test that right now, right away. But if it is, that's insane. But it doesn't matter anyways. Say for example you get 3 uses out of a Void Soul. By that time you'll have had 10 rifts to have got the Void Soul back anyways, so it doesn't even matter. So it's literally infinite Void Souls. This literally is an insane build. I know Controverse holds is a massive deal, and it has been since Forsaken. The Controverse holds Gauntlets, right? But I think this build is starting to challenge the original Controverse holds build, the OG Voidwalker build. It's starting to challenge it. Right now, I can't say if it's better or not. I think it maybe is, actually, to be honest. I think it is. But we need to run it in a solo GM environment for me to say yes or no. People probably may say, well, no, Crown Vessel is maybe still better. I don't know about that. Having loads of nades and having loads of healing rifts and loads of debuffs with Devour, I don't know. I actually, it depends on what you're running, right? Something like Inside Terminus, solo GM on that, Controverse Holds would be better. But maybe like other GMs, this would be better. But Inside Terminus isn't up, obviously, this season. I'm just giving you an example. So it's situational. You'll change your loadout depending on what you're doing. So the boss, I'm going to pop a Nova Warp. I haven't actually even debuffed the boss there. I thought my Void Soul was going to. I hadn't shot the boss in time. I should have shot the boss then, Pop Super. But I almost done a third damage and I didn't even debuff. Actually, we did. We actually sent the boss just in time. So that's just showing you how good Nova Warp is. And it will be effective on higher difficulties as well because you can stun lock a boss. I hope I do end up showing that gameplay at some point. So the boss is split into 3 phases. If you weren't around for this mission, I understand maybe some of you weren't. After every phase you get turrets in mid. Turrets must be taken down no matter what difficulty you're on. You need to get in the routine of that. As soon as you've done enough DPS, get into mid, get the turrets down. Right? Then you've got to melee the 3 Cabal enemies that are in the bubbles. So you've got a bit of Leviathan mechanics here. Or Season of the Haughty mechanics. Right? So you melee the 3 enemies, that takes down the shield. Pretty simple mechanic. But this room can get hectic if you don't know what you're doing. But obviously we've got access to a Devour chain, right? So we can just casually do that anytime. I'm actually super eager to be using Telesto right now on this boss because I've debuffed him. Note as well, the boss changes between elements. So now I'm trying to think on how his element rotation works. So he starts with, at the start he's more arc / void. Then when he gets below half HP-ish, he starts to go to solar, spamming his solar attack. Because his solar attack is the most threatening attack, because that seeks you out. Now on left and right of the maps, you can go underneath, right, to sort of avoid his attack. See, on Legend you'll have to play much more smarter than what I'm playing right now. I just know that I can out-tank everything. But when he does his solar attack, you go underneath and you do more of a Devour chain. Elemental Orbs, by the way, are doing huge damage. They're, especially for each element. Like, I know it doesn't volatile that much, the Void one. Maybe the Void one's a little bit more underwhelming compared to maybe the Arc one. I haven't really used solar, but the Arc one is super fantastic with the Jolt. Because it doesn't actually jolt them, but once you've hit them with the Arc Elemental Orb, you then do weapon damage, it jolts them, I think. So, it's fantastic. This boss fight's over really quick. But you can see how much damage Telesto's doing. I haven't even had a chance to use my heavy. Because Telesto just wants me to use Telesto. right? It's a fantastic little build just to pair with Telesto. He done his solo attack there, but we had a super to out tank that. There is nothing that you can get emblem wise for solo flawless or anything like that. That would just be for a YouTube title, because that's the YouTube meta for these exotic missions, to make sure you solo flawless, or there's no point uploading the run really. That was the video on this. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.